Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about every single movie that I watched in June. If you guys are new in here and enjoy these types of videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss any time I upload a video or I go live. But without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So what did I watch in June? The first two I actually watched in May. So the first one I watched was A Quiet Place 2. This was my first movie back in theaters in about over a year. And I actually saw this one in theaters twice, about 1 week apart. And it's absolutely phenomenal. From the sound design to the acting, I thought it was an overall masterpiece, and I love Cillian Murphy's performance. And this is probably my favorite movie that's released this year so far, and I have this one at a 9.5 out of 10. Next up is A Quiet Place. So right before watching the sequel, I watched the first one in the series, and I still think this one's better just because the main story is around John Krasinski's character. But if it wasn't for him, I'd still say the second one is better, and I have this one at a 9.5 out of 10 as well. The final movie I watched in May was actually Cruella. I don't think this movie is bad by any means, but I don't think it was for me. First of all, I love the Joker, and it seemed like this was Disney's version of it, and that's fine until they basically have to make Cruella look somewhat good in order to make her a protagonist. The movie's pacing was also god-awful, and it seemed like it went on for 3+ hours, but one thing I will say was really good was all of the performances. Overall, I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10. So the first movie I actually watched this month was a rewatch, and it was Minari. This one was, like I said before, a rewatch, and this was my third time watching it, and damn do I love this movie. It's such a heartfelt story, and I cry every single time I watch it. Steven Yeun is one of my favorite performances of 2020 from this movie, and the supporting cast is also great. The writing is awesome and the storytelling is an A+, but I will say that the third act felt super rushed, especially compared to the first and second acts. Overall, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. After that, I rewatched Captain America: The First Avenger. As you guys know, I'm doing an MCU rewatch on the channel, so there are a few Marvel movies on this list, and the first one of this month was Captain America: The First Avenger, and I liked this one much more than I remember. Steve's arc throughout the movie was super well done in my opinion, and the supporting characters were super emotionally connected, and I like how we felt like we knew every single character in the movie. Overall, I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10. Next on the list is The Avengers, and this is another movie from my MCU rewatch, but this one is the one I've had the most fun with by far. This movie is always a good time because the dialogue is serious yet comedic, the stakes are perfect, and Loki is a great villain. I love seeing this group of characters on screen together, and I think it's almost a perfect team-up movie. Overall, I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. So the first movie I watched for the first time this month was Parasite, and I don't even know where to start. I'm not going to do any spoilers on this movie because if you haven't already seen the movie, make sure to do so. And this was my first time watching Parasite, and I'm in love. I'm definitely going to rewatch this sometime soon because I think this movie is almost perfect. From the tonal switches to the dialogue, this movie absolutely blew my mind. The acting is also phenomenal, and I can't say much without spoiling, so if you have already seen the movie and you want to check out my full review, click the link in the description down below. Overall, I'm going to give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. Another movie that I watched for the first time this month was Luca, and this is Pixar's newest movie, and I've seen so much hate on this movie and I just don't understand it. Personally, I love the small scale of this movie and how it revolves around only 2 main locations, and it doesn't depend on the massive scale fantastical creatures. It focuses on the small town and the 2 child sea monsters. The 2 Pixar twists in this movie are super well executed in my opinion, but the third act definitely slowed down the movie way too much, but to me it didn't ruin the entire movie. It's definitely not a top tier Pixar movie by any means, but it's still a great and fun film. Overall, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. Next, I watched A Taxi Driver, and I reacted to this video on the channel, and oh my god, it is a banger. This movie is a foreign film about a taxi driver who drives a reporter into the middle of a protest/revolting city against the government, but doesn't know what he's getting himself into, and this movie does not disappoint. It has so many great twists, and it has one massive tonal switch just like Parasite that completely changes the direction of the movie. If you liked Parasite, I think you'll definitely like this one. It's on Prime for free right now, so I'd definitely check it out if you have the chance. Overall, I'd give this movie a 9 out of 10. Next up, in the continuation of the MCU rewatch, I watched Iron Man 3, and honestly, this movie is just as average as I remember. The villains sucked, but the fights were dope. I wish that these Iron Man movies focused on the right things, and I understand that's difficult because they have to process through Tony's arc and also deal with the villains, but in my opinion, they could just make the villains slightly more basic. There doesn't need to be 2 to 3 threats. 1 is enough because it creates enough wasted screen time when more villains appear. Overall, I'd give this movie a 6 out of 10. Now after this, I watched Mad Max Fury Fury Road. I also reacted to this one on the channel, and I think the most used word that I said in that entire video was crazy, and that's because it's one of my favorite action movies of all time. It's not only action-packed, but the action never gets stale. The dialogue, camera work, and storytelling elevate this movie above all else. Overall, I'd give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. I think it's an all-time classic. So the final movie I watched this month was Captain America: Winter Soldier, and this is again one of my favorite action movies of all time and one of my favorite superhero films of all time as well. It's conspiracy, thriller, action, superhero movie, and it mixes all aspects of action and formulates it to work. Car chases, motorcycle chases, hand-to-hand combat, knives, guns, you name it, this movie has it. I love what this movie does for Captain America's arc as well. It handles Black Widow perfectly, introduces Falcon perfectly, all managing to keep the mystery aspect of the Winter Soldier's character. I love this movie so much, and I still can't decide what I'm gonna rate it, so I'd give it anywhere between an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. And yeah guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what your favorite movie that you watched in June was in the comments down below. If you are new around here and you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss any time I upload a new video or I go live. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.